Hey folks, we're here today at Sumas Mountain. I'm going to take you on a little hike here, show you around a little bit. I'll also answer a couple of questions that we've had queued up for a few weeks now. But yeah, this is a real nice kind of hidden gem in this area. It's a hike with a lot of history. So I'm going to show you around and talk a little bit about the history of Sumas Mountain. Now you have seen parts of this hike. Last week I cooled off at a creek here and threw that into Thursday's episode. But we're going to cool off at a different spot today. I think we're going to cool off at the lake. So we've got Adam over there at Lake Whatcom. How's it going, Adam? What's the vibe like over there? Thanks, Adam. We're here at the Chanterelle Trail at the North Lake Whatcom Park. It's a beautiful day, beautiful day. And can you tell us a little more about the park? Sure. So the Chanterelle Trail is a 2.5 mile hike on the north side of Lake Whatcom. It takes you up to a beautiful overlook. There's beautiful flowers, rock formations. It's a fairly well-traveled trail. Lake Whatcom Park is actually the seventh largest local park in America. I guess that's anything below a state or a national park, so a county park or a city park. Yeah, it's on the north side here of Lake Whatcom. Also on the other side of the lake it continues. All right, yeah, well I am going to keep hiking up this hill, turn back around, head down to the lake, probably find a nice relaxing spot to chillax for a little bit. So we'll see you then. Thanks, Adam. Right, guys, so back in the 1800s there was a gold mining operation that set out here at Sumas Mountain to try and make a bunch of money for a bunch of investors. The story goes that the whole thing was a boondoggle, a case of fraud, that there wasn't actually ever any indication of gold being here. I haven't been able to confirm that, and I haven't really gotten deep enough into the actual hard history here to verify this story. But one thing's for sure, there was a pretty elaborate mining operation going on here. You see behind me the remnants of an old stone structure. This was an outpost. It was quite a hopping place, apparently. There was a casino, there was drinking, there was even a brothel here. So at Sumas Mountain, there were a handful of mines that were dug, but they never ended up finding any gold, so it went bust. I guess the only profitable part of this operation was the brothel, to be honest with you. But there's all kinds of cool stuff to look at on this hike. There's old equipment, there's an old vault or a safe that's embedded in the side of the hill. There's this outpost here, there's the mines. Of course, a beautiful creek as well. There's also a cabin, a lookout cabin that we'll look at later. But quickly before we move on, I'd like to answer a question, or at least attempt to address a question that was asked to me by a friend last week. They were curious about why our response to this COVID pandemic has been so hyper-partisan with so much tension. It doesn't seem that we've really come together as well as you'd like to see in a time of crisis. I try to avoid the punditry on this show, on the Adam Show, keep it relatively apolitical. So maybe Adam, do you want to take this one? Why this response has been so partisan? Sure. It's hardly surprising. Remember, we're living in a time when a presidential candidate who is a grandfather, who is also affectionate towards children, imagine that, a grandfather being affectionate towards children, is being called a pedophile by relatively mainstream people. So, yeah, it's hardly surprising. I think it's actually kind of shameful, though. I expect politicians to be partisan, politicians to be politicians. But what you're seeing on social media and seeing from citizens, interactions between citizens, it's definitely concerning and alarming and sad. You need to take care of yourself. Wear a mask, protect yourself, do what you can. Either be a part of the effort or don't. But we don't need to be yelling at business owners for requiring masks in their businesses. It's perfectly legal for them to do so. No shirt, no shoes, no service. It's not really that crazy to add no face mask during a pandemic to that. It's pretty normal. They have every right to do that. I think it's a smart choice right now. We want to open back up. But we also don't need to be yelling at people for not wearing masks. You know, you don't know what their situation is. Some people can't wear masks because of health reasons. Other people just kind of feel like they're going to be doing themselves more harm. They can't properly wash masks. They're concerned that they'll be touching their face. So don't yell at people for not wearing masks. All right, thank you, Adam. Yeah, I even saw that President Trump mocked a journalist, a reporter, for wearing a mask during a press conference. Yeah, so let's not mock people for wearing masks. I hate the virtue signal, but you know, there's a pandemic on, so it seems kind of silly. But up here, look at that, moving right along. We have our first gold mine. Cool little spot. I love the history here. It kind of gives this hike a bit of an eerie, creepy vibe. Reminds me of hikes that I used to do in the Berkshires, on the East Coast, Massachusetts and New Hampshire. Cool stuff. All right, so I think it's time to answer another question. This one comes from my cousin Amy. Another good question. She's just wondering about the Bermuda Triangle, how I feel about that. But you know what? I think this is a good question for Mr. Dangles. What do you say, Adam? I say giddy up, because we're kicking it with Mr. Dangles. Yeah, thanks, Adam. And thanks a lot, Amy, for the question. What do I think of the Bermuda Triangle? I was asking Mr. Dangles about this, because we're kicking it with Mr. Dangles. And he kind of agrees with me. You know, it's fun. It's a fun story. Many a great pulp fiction magazines have published tales of planes and ships disappearing in that area. Of course, we're talking about the region, the triangle made by that Bermuda, Miami, San Juan, back to Bermuda area, I believe. But yeah, it's real fun. But Mr. Dangles here, kicking it with Mr. Dangles, he reminded me of something. You know, there's no real evidence that that area is any more dangerous than anywhere else in the world, or that significantly more airplanes or ships disappear there. So I'm not sure I really believe it. Kicking it with Mr. Dangles. I'm not sure Mr. Dangles has more to say about it than that, Amy. But he's looking real good today, huh? Kicking it with Mr. Dangles. It's good around here. Mr. Dangles wants to say hi, apparently. Yeah, he's a good guy. He's a good friend. We're not social distancing, though, I guess, over here with Mr. Dangles. Oh, well. Anyway, yeah, that's what we got on that one. The Bermuda Triangle. Kicking it with Mr. Dangles. The Bermuda Triangle, good fun. Probably not actually something that is real. But yeah, great question. Kicking it with Mr. Dangles. All right, so we're up at the second gold mine here. She's a beaut. Now this one's a little more difficult to get to. It's a bit of a scramble, but coming up the second time was a lot easier, you know. Life is always easier when you know what's on the path ahead. I think that's an old gold mining proverb. Anyway, yeah, I reckon this took some time. You know, these are impressive mines, actually. You can look back in there pretty far. Right, but it's a little creepy sitting here, actually, so I'm going to keep moving on. Let's go check out that cabin, shall we? As you keep heading up Sumas Mountain, the trees start to clear out a little bit, and you get some views of Whatcom County towards the west. Really beautiful. So we get up to the Sumas Mountain Outpost. It's a great little cabin you can actually rent out and stay if you want to camp, but you don't have a tent. Really nice. It's a nice map here of the trail system. Cool, quaint little old cabin. There's also an outhouse that you can use with a really beautiful view.
This way, keep it. Whoa. No.
I'm sorry.